All right, welcome to the stage, Leah Prins. Hi, Leah. How's it going?
Pretty well.
I just want to start off by saying that I identify so strongly with your talk. I'm such a big fan of design thinking and ideating and sketching, and I like to include these in my processes as well. And this was just such a fantastic look at that with some really great examples. So well done.
Oh, thanks. I love hearing when other people also like to do sketching and just appreciate the preliminary ideation phase.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, so we already have some questions coming in for you.
Okay.
There's a question about the example you gave. So the school index card example is really compelling. Are there other ways you'd recommend to have folks interact directly with the data?
Okay, I wonder if this is meaning, if you have end users who you are trying to communicate the data with, there might be, I hadn't really thought about this too much, about if there's a way to have your end users start with the raw data in a way and then have them draw it in theory to learn more about it. Sure. I don't know, because that definitely is a really strong way to learn the data better, but it's also really hard for people who that's not their job necessarily, to even know how to necessarily map things to different visual attributes.
Mm-hmm.
But well, there are some examples that kind of remind me of that. I think it was in the New York Times a couple of years ago. They had you as a end viewer sort of draw your prediction of what you thought the line for something. I don't even remember what the data or what the story they were telling, but I remember doing that. And then it showed you how far off you were. And that's the same sort of idea I think is still happening there, where you're slowing people down and making them stop and think about the data before you really just show it to them in their face, and then in a big dashboard was happening to the teachers before they had to do the index cards. But I think just for yourself, if you're the one designing or creating the data visualizations, and you want to get more familiar with your data, drawing it is a really, really good way to start to do that and to think of more questions to ask about your data. And even if it's a pretty big data set, you can sort of do some basic analytic style charting for certain data attributes that you care about. So you kind of know the shape of the data and then use that knowledge in your explorations to know okay, I know early on in the timeline, this particular data attribute is really high, and then it peaks around this time in the time frame before it falls, just for example. And then you can use that sort of shape and thinking about that as you're seeing other ways to sort of map it out in sketches.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great advice. Well, and then there's also this especially when this is in a work setting, how would you handle a situation where an employer strongly expects polished mock-ups? If there's a culture of that. So they also added, it just didn't fit in the banner. I find it hard to justify doing a polished mock-up in between ideation and implementation. But what if that is just what is expected? Do you have any thoughts on that?
I think that's hard, but I think you can get benefits from before you have to do that polished mock-up yourself by starting your own explorations with sketching or really low fidelity explorations. And I think you could still show both to the people in your company where you need to be showing things, maybe, because maybe if you're only really supposed to be showing them one direction, you could still have sketches that are easy to understand that could show alternatives. And that way, if they're asking questions did you try this way or this other way, sometimes you can show them just a quick idea of what that would look like. Or you could even draw it on a whiteboard, or I guess on paper and hold it up in front of Zoom if you're working remotely now. But I think that could start to also introduce the idea of these lower fidelity ways of communicating visually and make it maybe more acceptable over time, even if you still do have to do the polished version.
Yeah, and over time, you'd think people would see that if you can do a lightweight mock-up first, you can get feedback faster without spending a bunch of time.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, I think yeah, if you can like get people to realize that you're saving time and not just having to go back and forth with a lot of time investment for each of those back and forths. Hopefully
Yeah.
that's a compelling argument, but
Totally. Yeah. So another person said, I often hear from people that they're not good at drawing and they can't sketch. What would you say to someone who's not confident in their artistic skills and has high expectations for the aesthetic outcome of their sketching practice?
Okay, that one is really hard. And I had my mom watch my talk before this so that I could start to get like idea questions from her and my dad too. And like the main question they had was similar to this because they don't really like drawing, but I really like drawing. And so I did start to think about this a bit. But I guess it's hard to get people out of that mindset because it's anything you make physically, I think you want it to look nice. Because I would feel that way if I was trying to make like a thing of pottery or something. I would be like, oh, this looks terrible, and only thinking about like how it looks. But in this case, if you can get people to think about not not to be judging their work by the aesthetic quality, but like by the communication value and the actual like content of their ideas. So sometimes it's like really helpful and fun to do warm-ups where you're doing some sort of like game that's really just about communicating ideas through sketching. Even like pictogram, is that what it's called? I think it's something like that. Just like where you draw a word and people guess what it is, or you draw out the concept. And or like where this one I do for like warming up if I'm doing sort of like sketching with other people. I have everyone write down a few nouns, a few verbs, and a few adjectives, and then we like mix them up and draw, like each person draws out one of each, and you try to sketch out like a skateboarding purple banana or something, whatever is the three like adjective verb noun that they drew. And it's really like you're never gonna draw it perfectly. Like you would not have it look anything like a photograph of that thing if it was capable of even being photographed. So it's really just about communicating that idea. And I think that can be when it gets more fun and has people just thinking about getting their ideas across. That's kind of like the inroads to getting in the right headspace, I think.
Yeah, totally. Well, and along those lines, so that seemed to be kind of like warm-up activities to get people less worried. Do you have any just in general favorite group sketching activities?
Yeah, actually, I've done a couple of workshops about this for like general designers, like UX design. And we did that one where I was telling about the adjective, verb, and noun, like swapping all of those. And then also another one that's similar is like to draw a sandwich that's like representative of you. And it could be like a real sandwich, like your favorite, like BLT or whatever is your favorite sandwich. Or you could have like a bicycle wheel instead of like a slice of ham because you like riding your bike. Like something like that where it's really silly again, but like you're getting across a general concept and it's about you. So it's like a fun way to introduce yourself to other people as well. I do have on my website, I have sort of like a little slide deck of like different sketching ideas. So I'll get that. It's like a PDF deck and I'll put it in Slack somewhere too.
Yeah, that'd be great. And we could toss it in the talk notes and everything.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Oh, I just saw the rest of that one. If you have I was actually thinking about this. I was like, oh, this could be a fun unconference. So yeah, I was thinking I can put together something really quickly for one. So yeah.
Thank you for catching that. I meant to follow up with that and then I almost forgot. So I'm glad you saw it.
Yes.
So do you think you'll add one for before the end of the day?
Yeah. I mean, because I have some existing stuff. It will be a little bit of a mishmash, but
I'm sure people will be fine with that. Do you ever co-sketch with your clients?
Yes, I've done that before, especially when it was able to be in real life. But I think it's still possible to be like sketching on your own and sharing things. I've done that a little bit still. And I think people, they do sort of sometimes start out with like the hesitancy, but then once we start going and like getting warmed up, they get like really into it. And I think people feel like really proud of what they are able to communicate in their sketches too.
Yeah.
It can be really rewarding.
I'm curious if it's usually that you're kind of sketching and sharing, or have you found any virtual tools that have been helpful for this? Because like I there's virtual tools I think that are helpful for ideating, like Mural and FigJam and things, but that's mostly with it's a little bit harder when it comes to drawing. So I'm curious if you figured,
I know that there are some. Just yesterday, one of my coworkers was sharing with me. I think it's kind of like a special camera that you can clip onto a whiteboard, but I'm not sure. I need to look into it more. It sounded like a little more technical than that. But in a similar way, I have this camera called a Ziggy camera that's just like sets on your desk and then overlooks like a page. And then you can be sharing, similar to sharing your screen, but you're like sharing your notebook.
That's great.
I know there are tools where you can be sketching together, like on a screen digitally, but then people have to like either use their mouse, and that's like a weird way to draw if they don't have a stylus and stuff set up. So I think
like that camera idea. That's cool.
I think you can even get like an attachment for like your iPhone or something, to probably be doing the same sort of idea.
Yeah, awesome. I'm gonna look into this camera later. So do you have tips for getting unstuck if you get sucked into the one idea hole? Or maybe to add to this, like it could be that like your team got sucked into it and you're trying to pull them out of it.
Yeah. Okay, this does happen to me sometimes because it's really easy to get attached to one when you think it's working so well, but then I think it kind of is just something you get better at over time as well. Because when I was first studying design, it was like, oh, my first idea, like it took so much effort to even think of it and to like start to build it out. It's like a sunk cost kind of thing. And I think, I'm trying to think of more like tactile ways to sort of get over that. I think even just like forcing yourself to like take a break from it and say, okay, this might end up being the right direction. We can come back and see that later. But for now, I'm going to take a break from it and just like start over. Just like drawing those little boxes on your paper and just thinking of other possible directions. And then those will usually like end up like spawning a lot new directions to explore and compare to that initial idea.
Yeah, that's great. So just kind of like giving yourself freedom to kind of go in another way.
Yeah. And also I think mentally telling yourself at the beginning, like, it's okay, like I don't have to forget about this initial idea completely. Because also you're like afraid of never getting to come back to that one. And maybe you will. Maybe though you'll find a better one.
Totally. Yeah. This is a question I have, which is, what's your favorite pen? Did you find one that you really loved?
Yeah, I have a few. I have like, these are the ones I usually keep like at my desk, a whole bunch of stuff. But my very favorite now is this one. It's called a Lamy Safari. It's like a fountain pen. So you can refill it with like different colors of ink and you can put different nibs on it. And the other ones that are my favorite, I just used up the last one earlier today. And so I have to buy new ones. But I like buy them by the box and they're really cheap. They're Pentel rolling writers. A lot of people don't like them though, because if you hold your pen really upright, it's like hard to get the ink to flow. But I hold my pen really like angled, so it works well for me. It just depends.
Okay, maybe I'll try one out soon.
Yeah.
Let's see if people have any last questions. We have a couple more minutes, but in the meantime, I have one more, okay. Which is, I'm curious, like, so for me, like a lot of this kind of going about things this way is because I worked somewhere where it was a very big part of the identity of the place, and they were big in like design thinking and ideation and this kind of stuff. Where did you, like, what for you, was it in school, or was it like, where did this become part of your work process?
Actually, when I was studying design in school, it was reminding me of what one of those questions was saying, where like for every critique, just along the whole process before we were even close to our final project, it was like expected to have a really high fidelity mock-up or like lots of them. And it was like really overwhelming and inhibiting sometimes because I was still learning the design tools like Adobe and stuff. Like it was really slow for me even to make the ideas that I had in my head. So then, and then sometimes, I think it was when I was like working at my job at the library at the university I went to, there would be like some downtime. And then I was like, I have so much homework. How do I have time to get some start on it right now without like dragging my laptop out that I'm not supposed to have out? So I would just like draw ideas out on like these little slips of paper that we had for like free bookmarks people could take. And then I mean, it wasn't like I was reinventing the wheel. Like tons of people do sketching.
Totally.
But it was just like, that was my way of sort of embracing that and finding the benefits of it.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Oh, I had another question a second ago and then it like escaped my brain. I'm going to remember it as soon as we're off the air. I'm sure of it. Okay. Yeah, I think I'll give up on it. It's gone. But anyway, Leah, this was super great. Thank you so much for the talk and for joining us for the Q&A.
Thank you.
I think people really enjoy. Oh, I thought of it.
Okay.
It's just one last question, pretty easy. Are there any like books or resources that you think were particularly inspiring or could inspire people along these lines?
Okay. There's one, I can't remember what it's called now. Well, actually, this is a different one that I wasn't initially thinking of. This summer, I just read Data Sketches. And each of the, like by Nadia Bremer and Shirley Wu, and each of their projects includes a section with sketching. And I just loved that part.
Yes.
It was so fun. And I'm learning D3, so it was like really inspiring me to see that like you can still be using these low-tech tools in service of the really customizable high-tech parts. There is a book that's like about sketching just for like communicating ideas for fun, and I'll find it. It's on my bookshelf and post it in Slack or on the document too. I just can't remember what it's called.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you. I'm glad I remembered. I'll get back to what I was saying before, which is thank you so much for joining presenting and joining for Q&A. And I hope to see you at a future Unconf if you put that on the schedule.
Oh, yes. Okay, I'll add it.
Awesome.
Right now to the...
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
See ya.
Bye.